Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear students, we are going to carry on the discussion on the influence of monetary and fiscal policies on aggregate demands. Before we start, the influence of monetary and fiscal policy on aggregate demands. Monetary policy basically refers to the control of a country's quantity of money by its central banks. So, monetary policy here focuses on the issue of money quantity supplied. We saw the long run effects of monetary policy in chapter 12, namely related to the money growth and inflation. And fiscal policy refers to the government's decisions about the government purchases and taxations. So we saw the long run effects of fiscal policy in chapter 8 about saving, investment, and the financial systems. Now we will look at the short run effects of these two policies. So recap, save the aggregate demand curve. So aggregate demand here is the negatively sloped curve, and the AD curve safe rightwards when we have consumptions. Yeah, so the AD will shift to the right. Yeah, if the consumptions optimisms. Yeah, tax cuts, increasing the prices of assets, namely stocks, bonds, and real estate. And the second one, investments, technological progress, business confidence, business tax cuts, and money supply increases. And the increases in government purchases and net exports, increases in foreign GDP, the expectation of an increase in the value of the foreign currencies. So all of four these items will make the AD shift to the right. So when the aggregate demand curve shifts, it causes certain fluctuations in output and employment. For sure, if the AD here shifts to the right, so it will impact the output and employment. Monetary and fiscal policies are sometimes used to offset those shifts and stabilize the economy. So these two policies, either fiscal and monetary policies, try to make the equilibrium is maintained. These chapters take a closer look on how many monetary policy and fiscal policies shift to the aggregate demand curves. Okay, we try to look at the aggregate demands and the interest rate effects. The three effects behind aggregate demands. The aggregate demands curve slopes downwards for the three reasons. So they have negative slopes, look like here. Yeah. The wealth effects, the interest rate effects, and the exchange rate effects. Yeah. And here, the least important for the US because little of our wealth consists of cash. Yeah. So the wealth effect here related to the cash, the asset that hold by everybody, and not very important for the US, usually important for the small countries that are heavily dependent on trade. Yeah. So the exchange rate effect will take into account when a country is highly related to the exchange rate fluctuations. And interest rate here, most important in the US, the theory of this effect is called the theory of liquidity preference. So interest rate here related with the liquidity preference, to what extent the liquid asset exists. We look at the theory of liquidity preference. John Maynard Keynes developed the theory of liquidity preference in order to explain what factors influence the interest rate in the long run. According to the theory, the interest rate adjusts to the balance of supply and demand for money. So if the money supply and money demand try to fluctuate over time, so it will affect to the balance of the interest rate. The theory of interest rate no longer applies. That was the long run. Now it's the long run. Recall that in previous chapters we have seen two kinds of interest rate: nominal and real interest rates. The nominal interest rate here is what people commonly understand as the interest rate. It is not adjusted for inflation. So interest rate you can see in the banks, they are the nominal interest rate. It measures how fast the money in your bank account grows over time. So if you want to know about the nominal interest rate, you just see the interest rate given by the banks. And the real interest rate here is the nominal interest rate minus expected inflation. It is adjusted for inflation. The inflation has been taken out from the interest rate so that only just the real interest rate. It measures how fast the purchasing power of the money in your bank account is expected to grow. So it is related with the purchasing power of the goods and services by looking at the money supplied and money demanded. So I had earlier said that the real interest rate is nominal interest rate minus inflation. No, I'm saying that the real interest rate is nominal interest rate minus expected inflation. So why is definition different in the short run? In the long run analysis, it is assumed that expected inflation equal with the actual inflation. So in the long run, expected equal with the actual inflation, but in the short run, it could be different because only short run. The theory of liquidity preference is a short-run theory of the nominal interest rate. However, short-run analysis assumes that the expected inflation is exogenous. The exogenous. Exogenous means out of the controls. Therefore, any change in nominal interest rate causes identical change in the real interest rate. So the theory of liquidity preference can also be seen as the theory of real interest rate. Consequently, from now on, I will not distinguish between nominal and real interest rate. So in the short run, uh, the real and nominal interest rate is equal, is the same in short run because the nominal interest rate is equal with the real interest rate. The money supply is controlled by the Fed, by the central banks through open market operation, changing the reserve requirements, changing the discount rate. Because it is fixed by the Fed, the quantity of money supply does not depend on the interest rate. Therefore, the curve is vertical, yeah, because the money supplied does not depend on the interest rate. The fixed money supply is represented by the vertical supply curve, like this one. So this money supply is controlled fully by central banks, so not from not not due to the market operations. Therefore, the curve here is vertical. So money demand is determined by three factors: interest rate, overall price level, and real GDP. So these three factors will determine to what extent the money demand exists in the economy. Therefore, here the graphs is negatively slopes here. So the more interest rate, here the less money demands. So the less interest rate, the more money demands. Yeah, here. And here is the factors. If you want to increase the money demand, you have to increase the price level, the nominal GDP, and you have to decrease the real interest rate or nominal interest rate in the short runs. So price increase, money demand will increase. GDP increase, money demand will increase, but higher interest rate, money demand will decrease in the way around. So equilibrium in the money market. So the interest rate here applies in the money market. According to the theory of liquidity preference, the interest rate adjusts to balance the supply and demand for money. There is one interest rate called the equilibrium interest rate, at which the quantity of money demanded equals to the quantity of money supplied. So here's the equilibrium, money supplied and money demand. So we have the equilibrium here, and you have the balance interest rate and balance quantity of money. So here is the balance here. So if the money demand increases, yeah, from the blue one to the red one here, and you can see the increase in the interest rate. Yeah, it means that the increase in the price. Yeah, so it will increase. So if the money demand increase here, it will increase the price, represented also by the increased interest rate, but also it will decrease the nominal, the GDP here. Yeah, equilibrium in the money markets assume the following about the economy. Yeah, so here, so price level increase, interest rate increase, and aggregate demand will decrease. The downward slope aggregate demand curve, interest rate effects. Yeah, so why the slope is downwards, negatively slope? Because overall price will increase the money demands. Higher money demand lead to the high interest rate. At the higher interest rate, the quantity of goods and services demanded falls. Yeah, because if interest rate increases, investment spending by business by decreasing, and even consumption spending will decrease. Therefore, price increase will make the consumption, investment, government spending, and net export decreases. And the end result of this analysis is negative relationship between the price level and quantity of goods and services demanded. Okay, that's all the first part of this presentation about the effect of monetary policy and fiscal policy in regard on aggregate demands. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.